I was gonna bring up these Disney girls.
Oh yeah, bring them up. We
Bring
love
them up.
Disney, don't we?
These girls are absolutely insane, and it's really weird what passes off as like normal and typical speech these days. So these two girls, girl on the left is Snow White,
Okay.
and girl on the right is Little Mermaid of 2023 or whatever. And they were doing an interview together. Like, there's not even a point to playing any of it because it's garbage. But they were doing an interview together, and they're talking about how like all the criticism they got, and they don't address any of the criticism. They don't say any of it was good or bad for a particular reason. They just say that, you shouldn't criticize us because of our humanity and we're still people. And then they praise each other for how good they are, deflecting the criticism. There's absolutely zero introspection in these girls who have it all handed to them, right? I don't know how hard they work, but they're getting these roles for diversity reasons.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's absolutely no introspection as to why people are upset by it. They just think it's mean. And that's the thing about society these days. As long as you're not mean, people aren't going to have a problem. They say people out of disassociation, they can take you away from being a real human that has feelings to react to things. It turned out to be a beautiful lesson when you just block any naysayers or negativity out. Like, that's right. Consider nothing, have zero debates or arguments, just block it out. And she says it
Yeah.
back to me, and people are so critical, they just say anything they would never say to your face. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say, hey, like, what you're doing is like shitty storytelling. It's shitty movie writing. You're just taking something that people loved and making it worse for the sake of diversity. Like, I'm pretty sure people would be willing to say that to their face. Like, maybe
Oh
not your
yeah.
weird liberal fans, but other people. And then what I thought was the weirdest part is this girl talks about the girl on the right. Halle Bailey is her name, which is an obviously, I'm going to name my kid after Berry, sort of. She talked about how great it was to be on a set with all black people, and I'm just thinking about that. You can always play the what if thing with white people. It's like what if The Rock? No, he's not even white. What if John Cena came on? Who's like, this movie was awesome because it was all white people. Like, it'd be such a weird and strange thing to say. But she's like, it was so great to be on a set of all black people where you just feel like you're at a family reunion every day. That doesn't even make sense. Because, like, what if, like, she's in this movie, she's from America, and there's like an East African guy in it, or like a Belgian black guy, and it's like, you're saying that these people, just because they're black, it's like a family reunion. Like, am I gonna go to a place where like Swedish guys are there, and I'm like, I feel like I'm just right at home because these people are the same skin color as me? And I thought, how insane is this that these girls are saying this to each other, and they don't think it's weird. They think it's so normal that they just talk about it on, like, I don't know, it was Vanity Fair or something. And then she comes back to the other girl and she's like, and you're so great for being the first Latina Snow White. And how important is that? It's a huge moment for my community. And it's like, okay, so first of all, I don't know what nationality is. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, she's from Venezuela, or family's from Venezuela. Does that mean you're the same as, Puerto Ricans or
Yeah.
Dominicans or people from Belize? Like, because my racial community, it's so weird.
Hondurans.
Yeah. Shout out
Dude,
Honduras.
yeah, so true. Yeah, the whole anti-white rhetoric is crazy to me, and I like to, sometimes I'll say this on the KGB show, or even if I'm like doing like a guest appearance on someone else's show. I always like to make it clear that white liberals have a white savior complex, right? I have a black savior complex, as I like to say it, because I love to stand up for my fellow white brothers. Like, look, white people are awesome, first and foremost. All right, white people have a culture, and everything. Like, when it comes to media, especially, right? You're talking about movies. These movies do not function without someone at the top. And I don't want to say specifically like, oh, they don't function without a white person at the top, but look at the Captain Marvel or the second Captain Marvel movie that just came out, right? The Marvels or whatever.
Yeah.
Full female cast. All right.
And
Everyone was a
director.
woman, and director was a woman. All the writers were women, right? It was like a full female thing. They spent more money on that movie than they did for Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, which were like some of the biggest box office breaking movies of all time. Beat out Avatar, all right, which I also think is a pretty epic movie. And you see how much of a train wreck that shit was, you know, and it was because they wanted diversity everywhere and they wanted women to be all like in every aspect, right? And it just didn't work out because nobody cares. Nobody actually cares about that stuff. Nobody's going to be rushing to the theaters and paying you money because, oh, this movie was directed by a woman and had a full female cast or whatever. No one cares. Literally no one cares. Oh, you watch these movies. You ever seen those movies that come out like roughly once a year about like slaves? There's always like a slave movie coming out. And I'm assuming that most of those casts are like just all black people, right? Nobody goes to watch those movies. Literally no one goes to watch those movies. Black people don't go to watch those movies, and neither do white people. Not because anyone's racist or anything, but because nobody cares. Nobody cares about like the full diversity or whatever. Just make a good movie, have good writing, you know, and people will sit down and watch the movie and pay for it. So these actresses talking about that kind of stuff is just so stupid. So stupid.
People even go see foreign movies if they're good enough. Like,
oh yeah,
people watched the World War One movie, not Oppenheimer. All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, I didn't like the writing in that movie, but that was in German, and I put it on and started watching it. I watched 95% of it, but people still watch good foreign movies too.
Yeah.
Now, I like to point out how this works in the video game world, because without Disney backing these movies, or well, Disney's Marvel too now, what am I saying, that they wouldn't be able to afford to take this chance. So when you look at games like FIFA or the hockey games, and they've so vehemently forced women into these games that nobody asked for, nobody cared about, and it's fine if you really want to do that, but as long as it didn't take away from the production of the actual game, then if that's the case, it took away zero effort from the actual game. EA can afford to hire another team to put that on, then that's fine. But the fact that they're shoving it down your throat and being like, these women are just as good as the men, if they're that good and there's that much of a demand for it, make your own game.
Yeah.
Where's the women's FIFA game? Where's the women's hockey game? If it's so important and there's such a clamoring for it, and it's not just a charity case, then make your own game and people will buy it. But that's not going to happen. And it's insulting to the girls that you make this thing just as a charity case. And you're just like, look, this girl's just as athletic as the guys. Like, you want to be realistic, make it so they can't do some of the same stuff that men can do, like a lower rated player, but they won't do that.
I'm assuming you guys are probably already subbed, but if you guys are a lower tier,
he's figuring out in real time.
No, listen. If you guys are a lower tier, you guys got to subscribe to the higher tier, the highest tier of the patronage for Andrew Says, and also share the video with your friends. All right, share all his other content with your friends, because I know that they will like it too.